Okay, so Boker Tov, good morning. Today's daf is Sanhedrin Pei Beis, Sanhedrin 82. Today's daf is dedicated for Shemira for the Chayalim, Matzah for the Shvuyim, and Yeshua for Am Yisrael on this Eitz Sarah. We're going to start 5 words from the end on the bottom of 81b. By Minei Rav Kahana Mirav. So Rav Kahana asked the question of Rav that the Gemara had said that if you see a Jewish man with a non-Jewish woman, you can do Canaan Pogimbo, let the zealous avenge God, and they can rise up and attack him. But let's say they didn't do that at the moment. Lo Pogubo, they didn't attack him. Canaan Mahu, what's his punishment? Lo Pogubo Canaan, let's say the zealous did not attack him. Ma, what would be the punishment? So, meaning, if after the fact, if you saw the Jewish man having relations with the non-Jewish woman and you didn't do anything, so now what's the punishment? In Shiye Rav Gamre. So Rav was asked this question by Rav Kahana, and Rav forgot his teaching. He forgot what he learned from his Rebbe on this, and he didn't know how to answer him. So Ikaryu Rav Kahana Bechalma. So Rav Kahana, they read a pasuk to Rav Kahana in the dream. And the pasuk comes from, we're on 82a at the top. The pasuk comes from Malachi. Interesting, Malachi is at the end, the last of the prophets, and the intermarriage was a big problem then. So he says, Bagda Yehuda v'toeva nesta b'Yisrael b'Yerushalayim. Judah was treacherous, and an abomination was done in Israel and Jerusalem. Ki chilel Yehuda kodesh Hashem asher ahav. Because Judah desecrated the sanctity of God that he loved, uval bat el nechar, and he had relations with the daughter of a foreign god. So Rav Kahana got this pasuk read to him in the middle of the night in a dream. Also, he came and Amrulay, and he said to Rav, Hachi Karyun. This was the pasuk that was read to me. So Itkarai Rav Lagamre. When Rav heard the pasuk that was read to Rav Kahana, presumably by an angel in a dream in the middle of the night, Rav remembered his teachings. He says, Bagda Yehuda, Judah was treacherous, that's idolatry. Omer came begadatem be Beit Israel Nu'um Hashem from Jeremiah. The Toivana Stabi Israel will be Yerushalayim. That refers to Mishkav Zachar. That refers to homosexuality. It states Omer v'Zachar lo tishkav Mishkavei Isha. Toivahi, it's an abomination. Ki chilel Yehuda Kodesh Hashem. So it desecrates the holiness of God. That refers to the zona, refers to the harlotry. It says in the verse, and then when it says Uval Bat El Mechar, that refers to Abal Akusis. That refers to somebody who's with the Kutit. Because it says afterwards, Ikareis Hashem La'ish Asher Yasena Ervona Va'ona Me'elohei Me'olei Yaakov. So it says, how do we know this is with the kusis? Because it says, Yikareis Hashem, or Yachreis Hashem. The next verse says, Yachreis Hashem La'ish Asher Yaseba Ervona Me'olei Yaakov Umagish Mancha Hashem Tzvakos. What does that mean? It means Im Talmud Chacham. If he's a Torah scholar, Lo Yelo Er B'Chachamim V'Ona B'Talmim. If he's a Torah scholar, he won't have any wise children. And if he's a Kohen who lo yelo ben magish min chol Hashem tzvakos, if he's a Kohen who won't have anybody to serve for him. But it says Yachreis Hashem la'ish asher yasena. So the last verse says Batel Mechar, and then God will cut off that person. So we see that the punishment for being with a non-Jewish woman is kares. Amar Chibar Avua Ko Abal Kusis Kilim Mischatim Avodas Chum. Whoever is with a non-Jewish woman, it's like you're marrying idolatry. As it says Uval Bas El Nechar. I'm sorry? Yeah. So it says, is there does the foreign god have a bas, have a daughter? It means this is somebody who's with a kusis. So Rabbi Chia Bar Avuya is taught. Now, this is really a teaching that's not entirely relevant, even though the Maharsha tries to make a connection. not entirely relevant because the only reason why it's here is because Rav Chia bar Avuya had just taught us something. So he teaches something else, but it's not entirely relevant. So he says, as follows. It says, Kol Abala Kusis, that what's the background here? Now, the background is the story of Yoyakim, who was the third to last king of Judah. And the Chazal said about him that because of the wicked deeds that he did, God wanted to destroy the whole world. And so when Nebuchadnezzar was taking him into exile, he died on the road. And they threw him down without a burial. And that was a fulfillment of the prophecy of Jeremiah that he will be buried like a donkey, be buried, dragged, and cast towards the gates of Jerusalem. So the Gemara is going to bring the midrash about this. It says, it was written on the skull of Yoyakim, this and even more. What does that mean? Zakenu de Rabbi Preda. So the grandfather of Rabbi Preda, who was in fact Rabbi Chia bar Avuya, that's what Rashi says. Ashkach ahu Golgotha davashaja. He found this skull. He found this certain skull that was cast off. Bishara Yerushalayim, in the gates of Jerusalem. And it was written upon it. Zos vod acheres. It was written upon it this and even more. So what happened? Kavra v'adar navuk. So he buried it. The grandfather, basically Rabbi Chia bar Avuya, buried it, and then navuk, it burst through the ground. Amar, so Kavra v'adar navuk. We did this again. Amar haygu galta shel Yoyakim. He says this is obviously the skull of Yoyakim, which was cursed. So what did he do? Dichsiv kfuras chamor yikaver sacho v'ashlech mehal shar Yerushalayim. And it says about Yoyakim, you'll be buried like a donkey, dragged and tossed from there towards the gates of Jerusalem. So you won't have a burial, and that's what this skull is. So said Rabbi Chia bar Avuya to himself, Malku, it must be that it is the king. It's not appropriate to desecrate a king. So Shakal Karcha Bishirai, Vusve Besifta. So he came and he wrapped it in silk and he put it on a box in his house. Asa Dveisayo, his wife came along, and Chazise, she saw her husband had a new memento. So she says, what's going on here? Nafka, she took it out, and Amra, she told about it to her neighbors. Amra, they said to her, hi, this must be your first wife. This must be his first wife. The Lokamanashu, and he can't forget her. This must be the first wife. He's having a hard time forgetting her. Shagarto tanura v'kolta. So she took it and she threw it into the oven and it burnt. Kiyasu and Rav Chia bar Avuya came home. Said, this is exactly why it says about him this and one more. This, that he was cast into the ground like a donkey, and even more, that he was burnt by the wife of Rabbi Chia bar Avuya, because she thought it was his first wife. Amar Rav Chisa, so Kiyasu Rav Dimi, Amar Beis Dino Shel Chashmonai Gazru, Abal Chus Chayev Mishum Nashka. He says the Beis Din of the Hasmoneans, that is Second Temple, they're the ones who made a decree that if you were with this Kusi, the non-Jewish woman, you're liable on it for Nashga. What is Nashga? The Nun is for Nida, the Shin is for Shivcha, the Gimel is for Goya, and the Aleph is for Ashes Ish. Rash says Nida. They made a decree that she was a Nida, even though the blood of a Kusi, generally speaking, does not make you tamei. Nevertheless, they said it does in this case. And they said she was like a shivcha. And she was like an idolater, you know how to marry them. So they made a decree and you know how to marry them. But Rashi says specifically, it's not a biblical prohibition. And they made a decree that you have to separate. And for a married woman, not really, because she's not really married. But they compared her to a married woman. And they say you're not allowed to separate, you're not allowed to remain with her. Ki asa Ravin Amar Mishum Nashkaz. They took out married woman and they added in Zona. Neither Shifla Goya Zona. But they said not a married woman. The Idach Nashayel Vadi Mifkari. Whereas the first approach says no, they're not going to leave their. He said they're Mishum Ishus Leishel. He says they're not married. So therefore, it's not like a married woman. But then the first approach said we view her like a married woman because they don't make their wives like free to the world. Anyway, we see from here the prohibition of intermarriage today is rabbinic. It's from the Beis Din of the Chashmonayim. Of course, it's still a severe penalty, so much so that Kenan Pogambo applies. Amar Rav Chisda, Habali Molech ain't more in low. Somebody who comes to ask, am I allowed to do this? We don't tell him that he's allowed to do it. You had a question? I believe when it says the husband, keep us a tissue, please. I believe, hold on. I think if you look up the court of the Hasmoneans, also made a decree about the pitam and their bread and their wine and their oil, maybe their cheese. You could look it up. That's also. We could easily Google the decrees of the Hasmonean court, but I think they also made a decree on the pitam, yenam, and shemen. So, okay. You can check afterwards. Amar Rav Chisda, Bali Melech, if somebody comes to ask, what do I do? Let's say a zealous person comes to the court and he says, can I attack them? We don't tell him he's allowed to. Because this was a law that was only said to the zealous person himself, but not to somebody who even takes the time to ask. Well, not only that, even more so. Shem Piresh Zimri Imranami, I'm a Rabbi Barchan, I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Excuse me, Abali Malach Imoran. Not only that, Shem Piresh Zimri Vahargo Pinchas, that not only that if Zimri would have separated and Pinchas would have killed him, Neragolav. Pinchas would have been executed for killing Zimri. If Zimri had at that moment separated from Cosby, and Pinchas would have killed him, Pinchas would have been liable. And not only that, Napach Zimri v'hargo Pinchas. If Zimri would have turned himself over and killed Pinchas, ein neragolav, he would have not been killed. Sharei rodefu, because Pinchas was about to kill him. It's a very, very complicated law. So basic point is don't try it at home. Moshe al Shofte Yisrael. Moshe says to the judges of Israel, complicated law. So Moshe said to the judges of Israel, he said to them, each kill every man who was with Baal Peor. Halach shifto shel Shimon etzel Zimri ben Salu. So the tribe of Shimon went to Zimri ben Salu and said, Moshe is going to kill all the people who are with the women from Midian. Amrulo, Hain done in Pashas, you're sitting here quietly. Moshe's threatening to kill everybody from our tribe. So what does Dimi do? No, so Amad the Kibbutz Chavta Elf Israel. He gathered 24,000 Jews. He went to Cosby. Amar Lo, said to her, Hashmiali, basically, be with me. So Amar Lo said to him, no, I can't do it. Bas Melchani, I'm the daughter of a king. My father told me I can only be with the biggest one amongst them. That's not you. You're just a Nazi. Amar La, he said to her, Afu Nasi Shevidhu. He says, I'm a Nazi. I'm bigger than Moses. Because I am the second one of the womb, meaning I was the second born, and he's the third born. Meaning to say Shimon was the second son of Jacob, and Levi was the third. So Tafsa Bivlo Risa, he grabbed her hair, Moshe. He brought her to Moshe. Amar Zimri said to Moshe, Ben Amram, Zu Asura Muteris. He speaks him in a disrespectful manner. He says, Ben Amram, is she prohibited or permitted? Vim Tomar, and if you want to say Asura, and if you want to say she's prohibited, Bas Yisrael Mi you're a hypocrite. Who let you be with the daughter of Yisrael? So Moshe didn't know what to do. Nisalma Mimenu Halacha. Moshe forgot the halacha. He didn't know this halacha. Go kuam b'vchiyah. Everybody started crying because Moshe had no response to them. That's what it says. They were crying at the entrance to the tent. Pinchas ben Elazar saw this. Mara, what did he see? Amarav, he saw Ra Maisa v'niskar halacha. Pinchas saw this, and he remembered the halacha. Amar lo achei avi abba. So Pinchas said to Moshe, basically uncle. He said, brother of my grandfather. Didn't you teach me this when you went down from Mount Sinai? Abo Aramis Kanan Pogimbo. There's different texts. So it says, in my text, it says, Abo Aramis Kanan Pogimbo. Amarlo, Karaina di Garta Iu Ave Parvanka. Moshe said to Pinchas, the one who reads the letter, he's the one who should be the agent to carry it out. Meaning to say he didn't want to rule that you're allowed to do it, but basically, he's basically saying, you kill them. But he didn't want to say it explicit.
Asking Moshe to confirm.
Jeff's question is, doesn't this actually defy the exact principle? But that's exactly the question the commentaries asked. So how can Moshe rule to Pinchas that he can do this? So that was the question of the Ran and many of the Rishonim. So the way they explain it, Pinchas didn't come to ask advice from Moshe. He reminded him of the halacha. And he was basically asking him, that we saw earlier, you're not allowed to teach your Rebbe halacha. And he was asking Moshe, why aren't you doing this? So Moshe responded, stop asking others, do it yourself. And that's one of the answers. The other answers, one was, and he just wanted he wanted to make sure that if he acted, he wouldn't be embarrassing Moshe. I mean, there's different answers, but it's exact. It does seem to fly in the face of it. The other answer is maybe this is the first time it was happening. So anyway, so the Gemara brings other explanations. Shmuel Amar Ra she'ein chachma ve'ein funa ve'ein eitza neged Hashem. Pinchas saw that kol makom sheyesh chol Hashem and cholkin kavod rav. Whenever there's a desecration of God's name, we don't give honor to the teacher, and so therefore he went himself and he killed Zimri. And even though it's like he's giving halacha in front of his Rebbe, he didn't wait to ask permission because he didn't wait. So different approach. Vayar Pinchas. Not everyone says he asked. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Rabbi Elazar Rosh Abba Malach v'Shchis Pam. What did Pinchas see? He saw that an angel was coming, and he quickly ran to kill Zimri to stop the plague. Pinchas ben Elazar saw Vayakam mitoch ha'ida vayikach romach piyado. Pinchas took a spear in his hand. Mikan she'in nichnasin b'klei zayin l'beis hamedrash. We see from here that you're not allowed to take a weapon to beis medrash because he didn't have the spear with him. He had to go out and get it. Now, obviously, many people today bring their weapons into the synagogue, but I guess this was before that. Yeah.
My recollection is in text, the incident in Memphis, that they were, when they said he was committing the violation.
Okay, just wait till them say the whole story. Yeah, they're going to talk about the details of that story. Then let's come back to that question. So Pinchas picked up the spear, and what did he do? Shalav Shinanai, he took the sharp edge, he hid the sharp point in his robe, or on the top of 82b. And he was like walking on his staff without, he used the spear like it was a stick. He went in disguise. Kivan Shigia Eitzel Shifto Shel Shimon, once he found the tribe of Shimon, Amar Hecham Matzinu. So they said, Hecham Matzinu Shifto Shalevi Gadol Mishimon, meaning to say, where do we ever see that the tribe of Shimon the tribe of Levi is greater than Shimon? Meaning to say, I'm not going to let you do this. I also want to do it. Meaning to say, well, I'm going to do like you. I'm not going to let you get all the glory. So when they heard that he was coming to join them, they say, let him in. He's coming to do his deed too, his actions also. They let him in. And then what happened? They said the phrase, even those who are the biggest righteous ones are joining us in this orgy. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shisha Nisim Nasul Pinchas. 6 miracles happened in Pinchas at that time. 1, Echad Shayelo was Zimri with Froish Piruj. Zimri should have separated from Cosby at that moment, and they wouldn't have been able to kill him, but he didn't do that. Number 2, Echad Shayelo Daber Diber. Zimri should have screamed out for help, but he didn't. 3, Echad Shekivan Bitzcharuso Shel Ish Ben Kivusa Shel Isha. That he aimed the dagger right into the genitalia, and he was successful. Number 4, Echad Shelo Nishmatu Mina Romach, that afterwards they didn't fall off the spear, and so he was able to show the evidence that he killed them together. Number 5, Ve'echad Sheba Malach L'Gbias HaMashkov, an angel came, and now they're getting more and more miraculous. An angel came and lifted up the lintel so he could carry them out. Echad Sheba Malach V'Ishchas Ba'am, and an angel came and attacked the people. He came and he threw them down on the ground before God at the entrance to the temple. Master of the universe, because of these people, 24,000 Jews will die, as it says, there are 24,000 dying. Pinchas was Vayipalel, and he stopped the plague. It doesn't say he prayed. He argued with God. The angels wanted to kill Pinchas for speaking disrespectfully to God. And God said, leave him alone. He's the zealot, the son of a zealot. Levi was a Kanai, and he's a Kanai. Meshiv Chema ben Meshiv Chema ben Meshiv Chema. He's one who returns the wrath, the son of one who returns the wrath. So, okay, just like his grandfather Aaron stopped the plague of Korach. His Chilul Shvatim Evazenu. So the tribes began to desecrate him. They said, "Re'isa ben Potizeh." Did you see this son of a Puti? Shepitim Avi Imo Agoim Avodas Kochavim, because his grandfather used to fatten Yisro. He's an idolater himself. His grandfather used to fatten the calves for idolatry. V'harag Nasi Shevet Yisrael, and he killed a prince of Israel. V'akasa v'yechasu. So therefore, the text comes and gives him lineage. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. He says, he's from Aaron. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Haftemu Shalom. God said, give him a greeting in my name. Shalom. Says, I will give to him my covenant of peace. And this atonement will last forever. What do we do with the fact that the Pasuk says, Zerzir? Okay, this is a difficult verse from Proverbs chapter 30. Zerzir masnaimo tayesh melach al kum imo. Meaning to say, there's a Zerzir. This is like an animal, the name of an animal which is impossible to ride. Or a tayesh, or a masnaimo tayesh, basically, like masnai means the loins, and a tayesh is a ram. The words make no sense. I mean, I'm not saying they make no sense. It's very, very difficult to just understand the basic meaning of these words. So there's here in the gematria of it, it's 424. And by snayim, we could expound, says the Gemara, like waiting. And tayesh is like losing strength. And el kum is God. So therefore, we understand the verse like this. That Zimri, that day, engaged in 424 carnal actions. Pinchas waited until he lost his strength. And Pinchas didn't know that God was with him, and he didn't have to wait that long. No, that he only engaged in 60 acts. Basically, until he became like a ruined egg, basically an egg that the rooster sits upon too long, and it no longer becomes edible, because I guess it starts to be fertilized. So that was the eggs of Zimri. Basically, the Beitzim of Zimri became ruined from his too many interactions. And Cosby herself became filled with seed, like a bed of vegetables planted, filled with water. Amrav Kahana Moshla, and the place where the place of the genitalia was Beis Sa'ah, became as big as a Beis Sa'ah. Tanrav Yosef Kever Shalah, the opening of her womb was like an Amma. Okay. Amrav Sheshach, well, Cosby Shema Ela Shivwani Batur Shema. Her name was not really Cosby, but was Shivwani. Why is it called Cosby? Shekizba Bavia, because she basically lied to her father. Because her father said only be with Moshe, but she didn't listen. Cosby Shamalavia Cosby im Amzeh. Meaning to say, her father said to her, slaughter them for me. Meaning to cause them to die. And that's what people say, Ben Kani or Bani Shvilani my bite. That's what people say. The people used to say about a woman who's suspected of idolatry between the reeds and the or Bani. I'm not sure if that's maybe the windows. I'm not sure. The willows, between the reeds and the willows, is Shivwani my bite. What does Shivwani teach? Meaning to say, she's a harlot. She's looking between the reeds and the willows. They're so big. What is Shivwani seeking amongst the peeled reeds? She's seeking to be adulterous and to cause her mother to be called a harlot. This person, Zimri, had 5 names: Zimri ben Saul, Shaul ben Aknanis, and Shlomiel ben Suri Shaddai. So they, this is called the economy of names in the Bible. They combine all the people into one. Why was he called Zimri? Al Shenase Kabetas Amutaris. His testicles became ruined. Ben Salul Al Shehisli. He caused Avonos Shomishpachto. They could cause the sins of his family to be mentioned. Shaul Al Shehishil Atzma was very. He lent himself to sin. Ben Akananis Al Sha'asa Maisa Canaan. He did the actions of a Canaanite. Umar Shemo, what was his name? Shlumiel ben Turi Shaddai Shemo. This is the same Shlumiel ben Turi Shaddai. So fine. So by Mineh, going to Shimish Betuma, if there was a Kohen who served in a state of ritual impurity, the other Kohanim would take him out and kill him. By Mineh Ravacha Barafun Rav Sheish, going to Shimish Betuma, Chayav Misa B'dei Shemayim, or Ein Chayav Misa B'dei Shemayim, is he liable from death from heaven or not? So Amarle, in Yisua we learned, Kohen Shimish Betuma, Einachim Kohanim, Evino Solabezin, El Perfect Galuna Motzino So Chutzla Zara, Potzinas Mocha Bekizarim. So such a Kohen, they don't take him out to the court, but rather the young Kohanim take him out and kill him. If he's liable for death from heaven, we let him be killed by heaven. So in fact, they killed him. It shows he's not liable for death from heaven. So you want to say he's now I will meet immediately. So how can we kill him? The Gemara says, what about the fact that we do kill him even though he's not liable? Like we said yesterday, we kill the guy, we put him in there, and the Torah says he's not liable. So the Gemara says, no, he was liable death from heaven. The Gaber Bar Katolo. So not a proof. Then the Gemara wants to prove that there are circumstances the Torah says you're exempt and we kill him. What about somebody who steals the katzva from the temple? Amar Rav Yehuda, and so he is liable for death. As it states, so what about the following case? From the Kalba Kosim, the Gemara says, no, Hatani, if Yosef Yaka Kosim is Kosmo. It looks like you're cursing God, so therefore. What about the person who has relations with the Arami, with the non-Jew? No, Rav, remember that you're liable for death from heaven. So again, we don't find it explicit that the Torah, a case where the Torah exempts you from death and we kill you. And so therefore it's more logical to say that a Kohen that serves in Tumah is liable for death from heaven, because otherwise why would they kill him? But nevertheless, we don't have a proof for it. And so therefore we have not yet overridden the position of Rav Ashi, of Rav Sheshes, who says he's not liable for death from heaven. Okay, we'll stop here. And God willing, we'll pick it up later. That's today's beautiful daf. Yashakoach.